Hey, welcome to another Valley Forged. As I mentioned previously, I'm only working with a few companies this year. I do plan on sticking with that, and xTool was one of the ones I mentioned, one of the four. Well, I'll work with other companies when it totally makes sense of why somebody in my audience would want it, or I would recommend it. So there will be other things that come along. But I had mentioned xTool as being one of the best all-in-one lasers in a few videos ago, but I hadn't actually used one because of course I knew what xTool was. It just, none of the lasers that they had made complete sense for me to recommend, mainly because of the price compared to what you could get for other things. But the S1 came along, the P2 came along, and things changed, in my opinion. What really did cinch the trick for me was Ventari. Steve over in Ventari. He left a comment on one of my videos, and I said, hey, what are your go-to videos? What are your go-to lasers right now? Which are the ones you love? And he mentioned the P2 and the S1. So that got me thinking, well, hey, I need to review an xTool. And so back and forth with xTool, and they decided to send me an S1 20 watt. So you can see that behind me. Now, right away, I'm going to say, if you can afford to get the 20 watt, just get the 40 watt. I'm going to say that already. There's just so much more you could do with a 40 watt machine. And if you're going to get a 20 watt machine, do you necessarily need this one? I have yet to get completely done with this. So this is a first look, but a 40 watt, it just, the types of wood that you're going to use, maybe a 6mm hardwood or something like that, it's just going to cut through that so simply. So if you want to start a small business or something, the 40 watt is such a nice thing to have. 20 watt, great. It's a sweet spot. You can do most work with it. But if you're already going to spend the money on getting one of these, I would say go for the 40 watt. Now, link, of course, will be down below, and I'd appreciate you using that if you decide to get one. And as I said, this is going to be the initial review. There's no script here. I've written down a couple of things so that I don't forget, but I don't really do that. I unboxed the machine, I stuck it up there, and I said, okay, let's try this thing out. And right away, when I could say a few things, it is kind of almost like the Apple of lasers. I mean, the packaging is gorgeous. It is well put together. The best manual I've ever seen. Very, very easy to follow. The things are just laid out for, like, if somebody's just getting into lasers, very easy. XCS, I'm going to get into that here in a little bit. Excellent software, probably the best proprietary software that comes with any laser right now. It was very easy for me to set up and learn. I made some things like right off the bat, no issues at all. And I'm pretty sure most people out there, will have very little issues with this. And so many people have xTool machines that it's going to be pretty easy for you to get help from people, say on a Facebook or something, to be able to help you figure out what's right or wrong. There's also an endless amount of videos out there to show you exactly what you want to do. I just happen to have videos from some of my favorite channels already making videos for what I'm trying to learn here. And so for the setup, and even though the manual is perfect, I just went over here to how to use your xTool S1 with XCS. Now, Ventari not only showed me how to use the XCS, but it also helped me set up the whole thing right from out of the box, which wasn't hard, but it's nice to be able to have a video showing you even with the manual. Very easy. Everything was super simple, very thought out. This laser is not small. It is very big. I took a picture with a quarter just so you could kind of understand. This is a very, very large machine, and it is heavy. Not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, it's a piece of furniture, but it is a beautiful one. One of the first things, if you watch this channel, right away, I'm going to say the fan shuts off when you're not using it. It's on right now in the background. Can you hear it? No, you can't. That is something I absolutely love. And that piece is something I think all lasers should have, especially if you're going to be working on them all day like I do. A lot of wood will come, especially a craft closet, which I get a lot of my stuff from. I mean, here's acrylic that I can actually cut on this 20-watt diode. It's going to come in a 12 by 19. That's not going to fit on a lot of your lasers, which drives me insane. I'll show you a picture. I have all of these little cutouts because I have to cut out, I have to chop off some of every single board before I can use it in a lot of other lasers. This, I could just drop this in, which is no small thing. I actually think that's huge. So I'm putting that as one of my major positives. I literally could just open up the package of boards I get from Craft Closet and set it in there and get to work. And not to mention, things like my Lord's Prayer cross, I can make bigger because of the way that it's sized. And I'm going to go ahead and do that in one of my next videos and just see how big a Lord's Prayer cross I can make, which I could not do in a 400 by 400 typical laser. And you would have to get the extension or whatever, and, then it's going to take up even more room. So it just seems like a nice little size, a nice way to go. I'm going to go through the positives and the negatives. And again, this is just my initial thoughts just from opening it up and using it. So let's go into XCS real quick. Since some of the positives and negatives are going to come through that, I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll show you. As I said, I watched the Ventari video, and let's take a look at that. All right. I just wanted to throw this in for XCS. This is my first time using it, setting it up. Not too difficult at all. Went perfectly with the machine. It's different. It's not something I'm used to using, but it does have its positives and negatives that I can see already. It was nice that I could just go over here and I'm like, hey, I got 3mm basswood in there, so I'm just going to put that. Wow, that was fast. The autofocus went pretty fast, and I was able to make this xTool sign in seconds. No problems at all. And pretty much set right in the wood where it said it would. So I am not an XCS hater. I think that it's probably the best free program that you can get. There is a lot of hand holding involved where it asks you, are you sure you want to do this? Hit this button, then you got to hit the button on the machine to actually start it. But you can hit the button on the machine to do the frame, which is really nice, especially if your laser is not right next to your computer like it is in mine. I can do the frame right at the computer and then go back to my computer and hit the start. So that part, pretty cool. But then I got to run over there and hit the button to start it. XCS, pretty cool, pretty easy to use. I think most people will find it really, really nice, and you won't have to learn Lightburn if you don't want to. Now, I personally think Lightburn is something great to learn because if you get a different laser, you'll still know how to use it. So since that's what I'm used to using, now you can see I watched Ventari's video here on how to set it up with XCS because he also showed me how to set up the machine. So, and he's the reason why I actually wanted to get this machine in the first place. I have this little, I'd say, cadre of channels. Yeah, I think cadre works pretty well. Got a little cadre of people that I go to and trust other than myself when it comes to lasers, and Ventari is one of those, especially in technical things. And I had already rated P2 as probably the best desktop laser that you can get right now, even without all its gimmicks. And the S1, I also put as one of the best, lasers to work with this year, and one of the best all-in-ones. But that was without having the machine. So I figured it was time to review one. Now, I will get into more about all that in the video, but I just wanted to show you this video in case you do end up purchasing this machine, that this is a great video to go to. I'll leave it in the description for setting up your machine and getting ready with XCS. Now I'm going to jump over to the Clack Shack video and watch him show me how to set it up in Lightburn, and then we're going to do that in the next video. So my next video will be me using this with Lightburn. So I'll do another test here in XCS, and that will be the end of my beginning review. All right, you can see, I mean, I made the stone coaster first try, looks really good. And just being able to just say stone coaster and and hit the start button pretty much, and it's good. And that's really nice. The framing, being able to do that at the laser, these are the first two things I made, and they both turned out great. No issues with the laser, the autofocus. I usually don't use that in lasers. This one is so much easier that I would actually use it. You kind of have to in this, but luckily it's so easy that you can. The framing was very, very simple. And as I said earlier, XCS is a complete software. It's pretty darn good for a proprietary software. Now, I do recommend people learn Lightburn only because, hey, no matter what laser you have, you're going to be able to use it. And it does have, it's really deep. And it's a lot easier maybe to get files and things like that. Now, XCS has a ton of library things that people have made. You can upload them yourself. They're already made for the machine. So xTool has a big benefit there because they have such a huge customer base that not only are you're going to get easier help, you're going to have other people who have already done whatever it is probably that you want to do or something close. So you know it's going to work. I really like the way that you could just exchange modules. So whatever type of thing they come out with, I think this is probably the future for lasers, is these pop in and out modules. So much more that you could do with it. So if you want to get it infrared, you want to get something, for different types of materials, or you want to do a specifically for engraving, it's fairly easy to remove these modules. Kudos xTool. Cable management, fantastic. I don't even have anything to say about that. It's just like perfect. It's not something you have to think about. A lot of machines you do. This one you don't have to think about it at all. I do wish it had a rubber hose. I just feel like I like rubber hoses better. They don't kink, and it feels less cheap. This one kind of came with just a plastic hose, but what a small nitpick, right? It is already a Z-axis machine, so that can be adjusted up and down, whereas a lot of them you have to pay extra, you have to do whatever, so that, if you want to use that, it's already done. So the more you get to understand your machine, the more you can do already. Wi-Fi, super easy to use and actually works. I mean, Ventari, Steve over there can vouch for this. He uses it, and it's like a true Wi-Fi setup for somebody who actually wants to cut the cord. That's nice. That's really nice. I would say it's a gimmick on the majority of lasers. It's just more of a pain in the butt than it's worth. I really like that it has a lot of pre-made templates and things that users have done already that you can get into through the XCS software. And you can buy files right from there if you want to as well. I think that's all very easy, very nice. I think it's well suited for beginners all the way through experts. And I think xTool has done a great job that way of just kind of setting it up for everybody. There may be a little bit more hand holding than I like, but once you get used to the machine, I'm sure you can adjust all of that. The hand holding is kind of nice for a new user, and so it's kind of a nice balance. I think they've done a pretty good job. The machine feels quality, it looks quality, it so far works quality, and it should be for the price that you pay, right? This is not a cheap machine, but at least it doesn't feel cheap. We're going to get to the negatives, the things that I don't like, and again, this is first impressions. I've only had the thing for one day, but I have gone at it pretty hard. The first thing I noticed right away is I couldn't remove the fan. Now, I have my own exhaust that's permanent, so I just wanted to hook that up and be done with it. But I could remove the fan housing in the back, but I can't remove the fan, or at least I couldn't figure it out. I haven't seen that on a video. So if my exhaust is blowing out, I'm actually going to be interfering with the fan, as it were. There is again, because it's xTool and a lot of people have them, there's lots of showing you how to do workarounds and how to work with it. And people have made 3D printed parts to add and whatever. So anything you want to do is doable, but I just figured I would mention that. Because I'm going to mention any negatives I have, because I want you to be informed if you're going to make this buying decision that, hey, at least, even if it's little things, I'm going to try and tell you. The honeycomb bed moves. Now, this is true for most lasers, but I think this was a missed opportunity for xTool, where the honeycomb could just sit in one spot permanently. It has little rubber feet on the bottom, so it doesn't move around easily, and there is a kind of, you could shove it to the back right, and it's pretty solid there, but it's not actually positioned to where you know that it's always in this spot, and that could be really nice. But it is easy to take out, easy to clean, and I like that it has the little rubber feet on the bottom of it so that air can escape through the bottom, which a lot of lasers don't have. I don't understand why it quite needed to be so big compared to the working area. It's just enormous, and I just felt maybe if I look at it more, I can understand it, but it just seems so big that there's some wasted space in there somewhere. But, maybe not. I can't see why they'd make it bigger than they need to, especially for shipping. It's nice that they have the emergency stop there. Just make sure that it's not in on accident. And I did feel right off the bat, the autofocus was a little intimidating. Because I'm scared to mess up the machine, and since I hadn't used the autofocus and it's just this little needle poking out, the first time I used it, I just was very nervous. Luckily, Steve's video is very good at showing you how to make it work, and so that made it less intimidating. But if I didn't watch a video and I just used the manual, I think that I'd be a little scared to break it. But alas, it wasn't a problem, and that's good to go. So I think enough people have bought these to where they've kind of got a lot of this figured out, and if it was going to be an issue, they would have known by now. So again, this is just my first impressions. I like the fact that I was able to just set it up, use XCS, which I have never used before. It is very different than Lightburn, but it's very much like, say, like a GIMP or Microsoft Paint or something. Very simple to use, but yet it seems like it has a lot to it that I can get into. Whereas some of the other programs that come with lasers, they seem very simple, but then when you try and do something complicated or interesting, you're not allowed to. It doesn't work. Whereas this, it does look like there's a lot deeper things to go into. So overall, I'm pretty impressed. So usually when I try to recommend things that I haven't even used yet, I'm pretty sure, I go into Vintori and Clack Shack and Louisiana Hobby Guy and other people that I trust, and I take a look at it. I see their positives and negatives, and I could usually get a good feeling for what's going to work and what's not going to work. But it is nice to have one in hand. I would have liked to get the 40 watt because, hey, you never know. That could become one of my main machines that I actually use. 20 watt at this point, because I run a business, isn't something I can probably use for my business. But I do like it overall, and I am looking forward to running this on Lightburn. Clack Shack just so happens to have a setup and use on Lightburn, so I'm going to follow that in my next video, and we'll see how that goes. But that is my first thoughts. Beautiful machine, xTool. I think you did a pretty good job on this one, and I will see y'all in the next one. Love y'all.